Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are painting this beautiful Bougainvillea over a vintage door. So you're going to start by wetting the whole page, just give it a spray, and then we actually start with a first layer of shadows. So imagine the sun is coming from the left hand side, the left hand corner, so everything on the right hand side will have a shadow. The outline for this is in my book, and my book is available in the description below. You can also follow along in my book with step-by-step instructions. So add shadows for everything that you've got here. So for the door, the stairs, the pot plants, the number board, where your house number is, and then also for the Bougainvillea. So I'm using Payne's Grey for these shadows, a very light mixture of Payne's Grey, and you can use your number 2 or number 8 round brush or any brush that you feel comfortable with. So because everything's wet, you can see it's bleeding everywhere, and that's okay. That's what you want. You want a softer look to it. Now I go in with the French vermilion. So first just a very light mixture of it, and then we're going to drop in some darker areas as well and have some salt handy because we are going to use some salt to create the Bougainvillea as well. So just a wet mixture of that French vermilion. You want to keep everything slightly wet on your page so that the salt can also do its thing. Okay, so now I'm just going to add normal table salt and you're just sprinkling it all over your bougainvillea. Now you can add some French vermilion directly from your palette because we do want some darker areas as well, which will just be the shadows within your bougainvillea. So more on the right hand side of your flowers. Now we're going to add some green. So first I'm doing a bit of phthalo green, and after that I'm going to add forest green for my shadows. Now go in with a bit of that forest green, just adding darker areas within those flowers as well, within the leaves. You can add some more salt here if you want to as well, while the leaves are still wet. Okay, now let's do the wall. So I'm doing a very light mixture of burnt sienna and a little bit of warm sepia as well, just to give me a very light brownish color. Same as what we've done in the previous two videos where we painted those backgrounds for our flowers. So you sort of do this the same way. You just start in one corner, it's a very watery mixture, and you work your way all around. Now let's do the door next. You can do the door any color you want to. I chose to do it with ultramarine blue, a little bit of green, so a little bit of phthalo green in there as well, mixed in with the ultramarine. I also added a bit of Payne's Gray, and I also added a bit of warm sepia, but I sort of mixed these on the paper. So I would paint a whole section of the door, as you can see here, and then I would just go and drop in some of the various colors. So either a little bit of green or a little bit of blue. So or a little bit of brown. As you can see here, I'm painting brown at the bottom and blue at the top. And this just adds a bit of interest to the door. It's not just one flat color. So painting it sort of wooden piece by piece, and then adding in those different colors, having a play with the ultramarine, Payne's Gray, the warm sepia, the burnt sienna, the phthalo green, sort of makes it look a bit more interesting. Some dark areas, some lighter areas. Gives it a bit more of a vintage look, the more brown you add to it as well. Okay, now moving on to my pots. So my pots I'm doing with the ultramarine blue. And just keep in mind your right hand side needs to be darker than your left. So I'm first doing the outline and then I'm just getting water and dragging that color out. And then you can also add a bit of warm sepia at the bottom here, and even a bit of splashes of green into it if you want to, or Payne's Gray. It just, again, you don't want it to be just one flat color. So dropping in some of these different colors like the browns and the greens into the blue just adds interest and make it look way more better than just one flat color. Now, next I'm going in with my fine liner brush and my brown. So I'm doing the stems here or the branches for my bougainvillea at least. So just doing a couple of branches with a burnt sienna. And then you can also do your shadows for them with the Payne's Gray on the right hand side of each one. I'm just outlining the house number here with my fine liner and some warm sepia. Now let's do this a shrub here. So I'm starting with a bit of lemon yellow and then going in with the phthalo green and then going in with the forest green. This way you create a shadow in your object. So using those three colors, lemon yellow, phthalo green, forest green. And as you can see, it creates this beautiful looking shrub with a highlight and a shadow. And remember, it's okay if you paint it a bit too dark because watercolor always dries lighter than what you paint. So don't be afraid to really work on those shadows. Now I want to do like a brownish frame around my door. So just some warm sepia, and of course you can mix in a bit of burnt sienna or Payne's Grey into this. I added a bit of Payne's Grey to mine and also to my stairs and the bottom, the foreground will mainly be warm sepia, but then also adding a bit of shadows in Payne's Grey. So with this painting in particular, most of my shadows I actually did with Payne's Grey because it just gives a whole vintage feel to the painting. Okay, now let's do shadows. So again, we're going to go over all these shadows we started with in the beginning with Payne's Grey, a mixture of Payne's Grey. But this time we're not wetting the page first, so they're not going to bleed as they did before. So everything that you've painted, you're doing a shadow for it on the right. Okay, now you can do your house number. You can do this with your brush or with a pen if you prefer, or you can write something there. It doesn't have to be a number. And then we're just doing final touches. So we can add some more shadows to the door using the Payne's Grey, and wherever you think might need some more shadows or some dark areas, just get that Payne's Grey and have some fun with it. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for buying my book. Thank you for following me on socials. I really appreciate all of the support. If you don't have my book yet, you can get it in the link in the description below. It's available on Amazon worldwide.